Hey y'all, thanks so much for dropping in. I'm Dr. Joy Harden Bradford. I'm a licensed psychologist in Atlanta, Georgia, and the creator of Therapy for Black Girls. Every now and then, I like to pop in with a couple of tips that I think will help you to really survive and thrive, something that may be going on in your life. So in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about how you can take care of yourself in the wake of the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries that premiered on Lifetime last week. So you, along with many others across the country, may have been tuned in for the 3 nights of information where some incredibly tragic and detrimental information was shared. And while we do want to make sure that we're honoring the survivors and the courage that it took to come out and share their stories in such a public way, I do think it's also important that we look at the impact that this has had on lots of different people who both have a history of abuse and were triggered, and even for people who didn't have a history of abuse were triggered. It just feels like there is just a collective sense of overwhelm and what do we do next in the community. So I wanted to come today to share 3 tips that could help you to take care of yourself in the wake of this docuseries. So the first thing that you want to remember is that you don't want to feed the trolls. And when I'm referring to trolls, I'm talking about all of those people on social media whose sole intention is to antagonize you. So these people are never going to hear any of the well-crafted arguments that you make. They're not interested in any healthy debate, and their minds likely won't change, but you will typically spend a lot of energy and get your blood pressure raised trying to go back and forth with them. So I would strongly encourage you to just disengage from any of that kind of activity. If you see somebody on your timeline that you follow sharing information that you find offensive or triggering in some way, the best thing is for you to just go ahead and unfollow that person or block them, as opposed to trying to go back and forth with them, because it's very likely that nothing that you say to them is going to change their mind. And it's also not your responsibility. They have shown you their true colors, and now it's up to you to make a decision about how you're going to protect yourself from that kind of energy going forward. So just go ahead and block and unfollow those people. The second thing that you want to pay attention to is you want to be making sure that you're monitoring how much time you're spending on social media and how much time you're spending on news sites. So I know when something like this happens in the community, there's a lot of information, a lot of stories, a lot of articles written about it, and it can feel really easy to just fall down the rabbit hole trying to look into all of this information and seeing how the story unfolds. And as tempting as that may be, there does come a point where you get to information overload, and that is when you start to have that sense of overwhelmingness and despair kick in. So you do want to pay attention to not spending so much time on social media and looking at these news sites. And you want to make sure that you're appropriately vetting these news sites to make sure that they're actually sharing accurate information, because not all news sites are created equal. So do make sure that you do your due diligence in making sure you're getting accurate information. And then the third and final tip for taking care of yourself in the wake of the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries is that you want to make sure that you have a person and a space to be able to process your feelings. So a lot of people, again, have been triggered by the docuseries. A lot of things have come up for people and they're not even sure why it has come up. And so it's really important for you to have a place that you go to talk with someone about this. So this could be a trusted friend who can just share, you can share this information with, and they can offer you some support and maybe talk some things through. But it could also be a therapist. So if you are currently working with a therapist, then this is a great opportunity to bring up your feelings about the docuseries to see if you can kind of make some sense of it and process it with your therapist. And if you haven't worked with a therapist before, this would be a great time to maybe start working with a therapist. So if you have been considering therapy, make sure that you visit our therapist directory. So we have over 1,100 therapists across the country who are excited about doing great clinical work with Black women and girls. So if this docuseries has brought up some things for you, then the directory would be a great place for you to start. So I do hope that these tips will be helpful for you. We want to make the resources available to you at Therapy for Black Girls. So definitely visit the website at therapyforblackgirls.com to check out both the directory and the weekly podcast episodes. If there are other things that you would like tips about, go ahead and drop those in the comments and we will try to prepare a video or some content related to those kinds of questions. All right, y'all. Take care.